Welcome back to another episode of the Jacksonville Buzz. I'm Steve Strum with my co-host Jamar. This morning we have Max Sgouridis, I got it right, from Rast Transportation and Logistics Company. Good morning, sir. It is great to see you again. Happy New Year.
Thanks for the invite.
Well, we were talking a little bit offset.
Absolutely.
You're going to talk about an international man of mystery.
Man,
Max.
Amazing. Max, so this is the burning question I have. So you have a rich history in Europe, wealth of information, wealth of knowledge, but now you're making your way over to the U.S., correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that transition.
Well, about 7 years ago, I came over here, and I wanted to get the same success, to replicate the success I had in Europe and to bring it over to the States. It was a harsh start, but and then of course COVID hit, which put the plans a bit back, but we're on schedule now.
Wonderful. How long have you been in business?
I would say a little bit more than 30 years.
30?
Transport and logistics.
Okay, so that 30-year history began in Europe, is still thriving in Europe?
It's still thriving. It started in Switzerland. I was born in Switzerland, and that's where I got into logistics. I had either a choice of going into the banking industry, which to me was too rigid, so I decided I wanted to be a logistics broker, and that's where it started.
I'm sure quite a few of our viewers who are in international business are thinking the same thing. Let's expand to the U.S. Why? What's your reason for expansion?
The U.S., firstly, it's massive. There's not many borders, there's no borders like in Europe. You have Switzerland, which is a relatively small country, so if you drive to anywhere 2 hours, you're going to hit the border. You're going to have to do customs checks and all that paperwork. In the US, you don't have that. So basically, you go from state to state, you have some permits that you'll need, but you know that in advance, and there's not a major disruption in the chain. The other thing in the US was, of course, the networking. Networking here is a big thing. People want you to be successful. They'll help you. They'll help you if one person might know this person, and they're all from different branches, so you can actually then start putting something together, and within minimal time you'll know so many people.
Absolutely. The transportation and logistics industry, it's vast, it's diverse. What niche are you in? What areas do you focus on?
We deal with anything except for radioactive stuff that we don't touch.
Well, that totally messes up your business.
Sorry,
you're not going to be able to legally transport your nukes on his truck.
But other than that, I'll do all transports, and I like to do the transport that no one wants to touch, because it's so time-consuming to organize it. There's logistics behind it, but that's where I specialize. I want to do the transport that no one else wants to do, because that gives me the possibility to be in a niche.
Now, one of the things that is interesting when you talk about, the consumer markets, right? You have electronic commerce, you have Amazon, you have all these things that we are now in this delivery on demand society. When somebody hears logistics, in their mind, they may think of these giant cargo containers with boxes and boxes and boxes, and they're going, well, gosh, I have 1,000 units of whatever the product is. I might need this much of a container. Do you help them understand how to most efficiently transport that material from point A to point B without necessarily having to buy a whole container? Or is it like one container or no container?
Well, there's two ways you can approach a lot. The easy way is to sell a full container to everyone, to
one container to a customer.
But I specialize in partial loads. So meaning, I'll make, and that's where I say, I want to do what no one else wants to do, or not many people want to do, which is, consolidate the loads. That means that I'll give you, or whoever asks, a cheaper price. I can afford that because I'll have that. I'll fill that container. To fill up the container, that's going to be my job, and not the job of the customer, to pay for a full container.
And that's a very unique thing, because especially in this gig economy, I might make, ties, right? And you might make glasses.
Exactly.
And those aren't that big, and ties aren't that big. But I want to send out ties, but my costs are prohibitive because then I have to think about, gosh, how am I going to get that from manufacturing to United States?
Exactly.
So you help us as separate business owners to say, hey, you know what? I need so much. He needs so much. You're going to be able to give us the pricing discounts to get us competitive in our marketplace. And we may not know each other, but you're helping us to be able to deliver because you're able to use that container as one unit under your umbrella versus having to farm it out to everybody else.
Exactly, and that's where the skill comes in. You need the skill to plan accordingly, to have the loads, and that's where the network comes in. You need to know a lot of people, have a lot of goods, and then you can consolidate those containers, which at the end of the day, if you do it the right way, it will pay more than a full container, the full container price that I'll charge for that one crate.
So it's good for you as the business owner because you're going to have a more profitable container.
Exactly.
And it's good for us as the business owner that's trying to use your stuff because we're still getting your pricing discount. So
Exactly.
you might make 5 cents on the deal, but I'm going to save 10 cents. So I'm happy because I saved 10 cents. You made 5, which is fair because I was able to save the 10. So in a way that allows us to be able to do what we're trying to do to build our businesses.
Exactly, and it'll bring repeat business. I mean, the next time you'll know, okay, I don't have to go and look for someone who does partial. If you give a good service, they'll come back.
It is amazing to hear. We have all these interviews, all these people doing some really unique and amazing things. It's interesting to hear as we take this one away, the thought and processes that go behind a giant metal box. Going from London to Philly, and how you're able to help clients, and it's really cool. So what we'll do is we'll make sure to host all your stuff on our website, which is thedailynewsnetwork.com. So in case people have questions on how to use your stuff or how to connect with you.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thanks very
It's good
much.
to see you again, man.
Thanks.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Jacksonville Buzz. If you like us, share us, and remember, live with gratitude.